Hey, everybody. Welcome to our live event with Build.com. My name is Ramon Ray, your host. I hope you've settled in and got your tea or coffee or your beverage of choice. Those who are watching this live, thank you for being here and participating in this event with us. Those who are watching this afterwards, thank you for being here as well. We're going to have a good time. And today, our discussion is all about how your business can have a customer-centric approach. And we're going to talk really about two things: why you should do it, and of course, how you should do it. I know I'm going to have a good time learning anytime we talk about customers. I think it's so important, and that's important for us business owners to do that anytime, but especially in the times that we're living in at this time right now. So sit back, relax, listen, get a pen or pencil, take some notes, or just listen. And we're glad that you're spending your time with us today. We're going to have a guest expert today from Build.com, and that's Build.com's Chief Experience Officer, Bora Chung, who's going to share with us from her experience of having a customer-centric approach. Bora, how are things in your world? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Ramon. It's great to be here, and I'm really looking forward to a half an hour together.
Indeed. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I talked to a lot of people talk about the numbers and the marketing and the finance, but we get to talk about customers today. So It's going to be really, really good. So Bora, please take it away and help us understand right at the top just about your role at Build.com, your experience, and not just your role at Build.com, but for the few who may not know, even help us understand what is Build.com. Bora, the floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with Build.com first and then talk about what I do at Build.com. So Build.com is a leading cloud-based software for SMBs. And in short, we help SMBs to get paid and pay easily and quickly. If you think about the business, we could break it down to the paying side. So SMBs, the cash flow is the lifeblood and the oxygen. So you want to push out the payables as much as possible, but there are a lot of different steps to make a payment. You might need to code the bill. You might need to approve through different people, write a check, or use different electronic payments. So we actually automate and digitize all of the process for the back office of the SMBs. On the receivable side, we actually help customers issue invoices and track the payments so that they could bring in the cash flow early as much as possible without too many touches. And when there's non-paying customers, we also help them to make a nudge so that the cash flow, again, goes circular. So that's the business. We have distributed our products through direct channels, through bank channels as well. We work with the leading banks of the US. And we also distribute our products through the accountant channels. So that's Build.com. I have been having a lot of fun working here for the last 3 years. My role really quickly is I cover product management, product design, and an organization called CX. It stands for Customer Experience. Many of the other companies call that role customer support. And basically, my groups are looking after building the products and services that our customers really use to shave off time that they spend on the back office so that they can focus on growing their customers and expand their front office.
I love that, Bora. Thank you so much for that. I wonder, are you ever surprised? It's more of a rhetorical question. So many businesses still use paper. You know, I got my carpets cleaned recently and other services, and you're like, what? Carbon copy or paper? I got to sign it. But I think this is the perfect opportunity, especially what's going on in the last 2 years, the perfect opportunity for Build.com to, as my mother or grandmother would say, chop, 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 chop. Let's get more automated and digitized. Does that make sense, Bora?
Thank you for the rhetorical question. I completely, wholeheartedly agree. When Rene Lessert, our founder CEO, started the company, he wanted to replace paper, sticky notes, file cabinet, paper checks. And SMBs are still wrestling with them. I think our study shows that about 80% of SMBs are still wrestling with all of the offline methods, and we are helping them to get on the digital world with that. And especially during the pandemic, this has been super helpful. And we've seen some increasing demand from SMBs that want to change their habit. I believe that SMBs are still in the paper world because it's just inertia. But once they see the power of how quick approvals could be, how quick coding the bills could be, how much accuracy we actually help with them, they could actually come over and use us and really, really flourish their business and grow with us. I feel that the SMB segment traditionally has been not getting the benefits of some of this technology innovation. And it's about time that SMBs actually use all of the benefits of innovation, and we are here to help them.
I love that. And it seems like, Bora, pardon me, it seems like you've gone increasingly to better and better companies. That's me saying it. Can you just brag a bit, Bora, and tell us a bit about some of the cool companies you've worked at, which finally landed you at the best company in the planet, Bill.com, because it's going to lead to us another question. But just talk a bit about some of the companies you've worked at and how you've helped them, if you don't mind, briefly.
Totally agree that Bill.com is the best company I've worked at. But I went through a few steps to get here, and I feel that every step has been additive. So my first job out of business school was actually at PayPal. This was during the early stages of PayPal. And that's where I really learned about fintech. But more importantly, that's where my customer appreciation got really started. As you know, PayPal has two sets of customers: the consumer customers, and then the merchant customers. So really adding value in between these two sets of customers was what I learned at PayPal, and I started to pay attention to customer needs big time at PayPal. My second role after PayPal was working at Apple. And as all of you know, Apple helps consumers, educational institutions, small, medium businesses with their technology and innovation. And what I really picked up that I'm still using at Bill.com is the obsession to detail. We don't want to have customer experience to be frictionful, and Apple really has vigilant attention to removing the friction so that everything is really effortless and delightful. My job before Bill.com was working at eBay. And as you know, eBay is a great marketplace platform for SMBs around the world. And that's where I really learned the empathy for small, medium businesses and how we empower them and put them on the same roadmap as the enterprises around the world. So I feel that all of these experiences have been helpful in me paying attention to customers and customers' needs.
I love that. And I just want to remind our customers and those watching us as well, Bora, especially those of you watching live and or those of you watching it on demand, use the chat, put a comment, say, go Bora, say, go Ramon, whatever you like. So feel free to put things in the chat and feel free to engage with us, whether you want to do that live or after the fact. I know a few things have impacted you, Bora, that have made you, my words, very empathetic, very laser focused, almost like you're the perfect person to be focused on customer centric. And I know there's like 3 pillars that are very important to you: being diligent and observant and having a certain servant leadership. Can you just unpack a bit, briefly your what led you to this, and then maybe talk about why these pillars are so important as we begin to dive a bit deeper into this customer centric conversation?
Yeah. Thanks for the question, Ramon. Great one. Customer empathy, often my mentors tell me that in order to develop customer empathy, the first step is get out of your shoes. So whether you are an entrepreneur, a marketing head, or a salesperson, you should get out of your own shoes and then get into customers' shoes and watch customers. What problems do they have? What opportunities are they missing if we have a solution for them? So customer empathy is, I think, a real important pillar to customer-centric thinking. And I feel like I had the privilege to develop that because of my experience moving to the States relatively later stage of my life. So when you move schools or move town or move countries, you naturally pay attention to what's going on. How do people in those communities do stuff? And just that observant watching skills and putting myself in their shoes has been developed because I moved from Korea to the US during high school and college. So that's one key benefit that I try to use every day in my work: observing and getting into the customer's shoes, understanding their pain points.
Yeah, I think that is powerful indeed. And I think that definitely you're the perfect person at Bill.com. It's already an amazing company. I've used Bill.com services, but I think you're right. Sometimes as leaders, the personal experiences we go through does shape that. Me being native English speaker, I have been to Asia before, and I must say it was an honor having the shoes on the other side, me
Yeah,
like being in a train station
that's right.
with my hands open, just like I was trying to communicate. I don't know how to get to the turnstile. Can you
Right,
help
right,
me?
right, right.
It seems silly if those of us who are in the New York area, wherever. So I empathize with you, but language is a big thing that brings us all together or separates us for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so, Bora, let's dive right into the conversation here with the audience who are listening to us today about how we can be and even why we should be customer centric. I think it's a big topic, but I think there's a few key points that we can steer people to. So take it away here and talk to us some of the best practices that you've seen over your career that SMBs can learn from you. What
Mhm.
do we do to be customer centric companies in our approach?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll outline three things, Ramon. First is what the industry calls voice of customer program. The second one is thinking about customer persona. And then maybe the third one is listening to customers and non-customers. A lot of
Mm,
times we listen to customers only, but I often find greater value in listening to non-customers. So let me talk about that in that order. So what is customer centricity? It's basically, it sounds like a really fancy word, but in my opinion, it's just capturing customer input, whether it's a quantitative input or qualitative input. It's also analyzing them and making those insight from the customer input as a basis for making your decision. I feel that that's what customer centricity boils down to. And a lot of the companies, small ones and big ones, have been using a program called Voice of Customers. So again, as I mentioned, what happens is that whether it's the CS team that has the most frequent contacts with the customers, or whether it's a marketing team or sales team that are doing some field researches, we collect the opinions of the customers, the inputs of the customers on what they currently do and what they would like to do in the future, and bringing that into the decision-making mix. So a lot of the companies use voice of customers, and you just basically has to listen, implement change, see if that sticks, rinse and repeat. And it's almost like a muscle memory as opposed to a big program or process. So that's one best practice. The second one is really bringing the customer in the middle of the meeting room or conference room. And what I mean by that is thinking about the customer persona. Are we thinking about a service business that's trying to expand to different neighborhoods, or are we thinking about a construction business that is trying to figure out the next financing cycle, right? So always something talking about the customer persona in the room. Sometimes we actually name the customers. Hey, what would Susie's problem be? And between marketers, product managers, engineers, and designers, we think about how can we all collectively solve customer Susie's problem? How can we help Bill's construction business to expand even bigger? So having the practice of bringing the persona inside of our daily conversation is really helpful to not lose the sense of empathy. And then the last thing is really listening to non-customers as well. All the SMB owners and entrepreneurs on the audience, you probably you have definitely actually customers that have churned or customers that have said no more to your business. Why did that do that? So it's really important to keep the customers you have already gained, but I feel that it's even more important to go out and talk to customers who said no to your service or who didn't buy any more from your service. So I would summarize that VOC, persona, and listening to churn customers or customers who are not coming back to you anymore could bring really, really valuable insights.
I love that. I love that. Bora, I have a political question for you. We didn't discuss it, but it just comes
Uh-oh.
to mind. So let's see if you can handle this political question. Let's see what happens. So here's the political question. Let's see. Is that the
Bring on.
customer? Yes, I love it. She's like, bring it on. I can handle it. The customer experience. is that more to keep customers from leaving and like our current customers? Or do you see that as a role for getting customers in? Or is it both possibly? Just curious, having some fun, because it can be one thing we're retaining them, or is it a marketing engine like, no, this is so people customers can buy from us more? How do you kind of see that, or is it both?
Yeah, thank you for scaring me with the political question and actually giving me a really easy one at the
Absolutely.
end. It's the same, and I think
Okay.
they all work together, in my opinion. So you've asked about, hey, should we be customer-centric to acquire new customers, or should we be customer-centric to really retain them? And I think this notion of customer centricity and customer advocacy, when done well, it's helpful for both. Especially for our business, the SMB business. For some businesses, the decider, the buyer, and the user of the product could be the same. Sometimes it could be different. So when we deal with really, really small businesses, maybe the small business owner is using the product, but also making the purchase decision of the software. When the business is, let's say, 20, 30 people, there may be a decision maker of buying Bill.com software, and there could be multiple users. But if we're not customer-centric, if we're not bringing value, we cannot acquire them, and we cannot keep them happy. So I think it's one and the same. And when this is done well, we will have more buyers buying our softwares. We will have happier users who tell the buyers not to cancel the subscription of the software.
Yeah, I think that's powerful for sure. And if I may, just one more follow-up question. Again, everybody, we're talking to Bora Chung, who's the Chief Experience Officer at Bill.com. So glad to have her with us today. But one follow-up that came to mind is that for the smaller businesses, I know many of the larger brands like Bill.com, the best company on earth, right, is have someone like yourself. And I would assume, Bora, but guide me, correct me, that this may live with the CEO, with the president, right? I have my own business. Or do you think maybe if we want to have a flag bearer, as it were, that this would can it live with the marketing person, head of sales? Any guidance over just besides the founder and owner, who I would guess default, they have to live that. But anybody who may want to lead that at a smaller company, if that's a fair question?
I think it should be done by everyone. The customer-centric thinking should be done by everyone. And it's not the CEO's job. It's not just the owner's job. It's not just the CS head's job or marketing's job. So I feel that it's everyone. And we have some best practices I'm happy to talk about soon at Bill.com, where we push this thinking down to everyone, every function of the company, to really help with that.
I love that. Why don't we jump into that right now? Because I think there's no better example in that than what Bill.com is doing. So please, yes, let's jump on that and learn from you all what Bill.com is doing in its own company. So we're going to learn right now how you all are doing a customer-centric approach. And maybe one of the first times we have permission to steal an idea from another company.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is why we're here together. The first best practice tip I would give about what we did at Bill.com is around my role. So when you first introduced me, Ramon, you said that my role is Chief Experience Officer, and it's a relatively new title. But what is really behind that organizational design is we have product teams and the CS team together. We call it CX internally, customer experience, but again, in other companies, it's the customer support team. The reason why we have the two teams under the same roof is the following. One, if you think about who talks to the customers the most in a company, we all do. Marketers do, sales folks do, but CS team usually talks to the most number of companies. They have the most color, right? So when the customer input comes through the CS, it's really important that that gets disseminated to the product team, the team that thinks about the new product offering, new service offering, iterating the existing offering. So the distance between the two groups should be really, really short. So it really started with that thinking that the organization should be close together. So I would say, and I've seen other software companies bringing the two organizations on the org chart close together or through other means, but that's the first best practice secret that I would like to share with you. The second thing that we do is that we have company meetings often, especially during the virtual world. We have been having town hall meetings, and we have been inviting our customers so that all of us at Build.com, again, not just the CEO, not just the founder, not just marketing, not just CS, all of us listen to the customers and we ask them candid questions. What are we doing well? And then what are we doing not so well that we could improve upon? So that candid conversation gets shared in big forums and we can all feel the gain and pain of our customers together. So that has been really, really beneficial as well. We also have, in the recent company meeting, brought in some call scripts into the meeting where we heard about when we have a miss, how painful it is for our customers. So a lot of times we get kudos from our customers and that gets us going. But sometimes when we have a miss, we actually listen to it, repeat it, and then make sure that we fix it right away for the benefit of the customer. So bringing all of this customers' experiences in, customer interviews in, sharing the insights widely through the company is something that we are doing at Build.com to get better. And then another thing that we are doing that's really worth sharing is we are all trying to use our own product. Build.com's product is for SMB, so it's not exactly easy to use for personal finance, but there are some ways that we could actually make the team members use Build.com products. So as an example for me, I put some of my personal finance bills into Build.com. I make my husband an approver, so he actually has to take a look at it and approve, and then we actually then make a payment using different payment choices. So just eating your own dog food, again, whether you're engineer or marketer or anybody, if you use our product, we will definitely see bugs, issues, and we will empathize with customers so much better. And then not to just mention this as the last thing, our customer experience team members, what our leader has been doing is to pull randomly 5-10 customer chat scripts and then review it with the team. That is also another best practice of understanding what we're doing well and how consistent or inconsistent sometimes our resolution could be. So these are all of the best practices we're doing. And then maybe one last thing that I'll mention is we are also paying attention to customers who stop using us. We want to figure out what we could have done better to retain them longer. We also talk to customers who didn't decide to use us at the beginning. So we call that close lost interviews, and we pay attention to those as well.
I think that is so powerful, Bora, and I can see definitely I'm learning so much from you. And I just want to talking about customer experience. Shout out to Jenny and Cheryl who say, "Hey, this is a good conversation. You all are making things so simple to understand." So shout out to them for being here as well. Bora, I think this was absolutely fantastic and amazing. And I just want to recap. I think one thing I'm hearing you say, frequent company meetings. From that, Bora, I'm guessing that all is about communication. It's not just that Bora is running down the hallways of Build.com, banging on doors. Hey guys. No, everybody's having team meetings up and down about customers. That's a fair restatement of what I'm hearing.
That is so important, especially when we're all working remote. Communication is important, and always putting the customers at the center at the beginning of every communication is important. So definitely that breaks the silo in the organization. That reminds us always that we are here to serve our customers, and then revenue and profit and all that good financial stuff will follow. And I've seen that happen at some of the great companies I worked for before, and it's happening here at Build.com as well. So communication, timely communication, communicating a lot of the problems in customers' language, not in an engineering language or design language, and using that common language to go and help our customers. It's really, really important. And I feel that our culture really reflects that. We put our customers first, and our leader kind of leads through exemplary means. So, company meetings, communications, always using the customer language to think about a problem are what you picked up totally correctly.
I love it. And I think the tip about, using your own software is so important. Even myself, I have a very small business, but, sometimes we can get so caught up in making changes to the platforms we use. We forget, wait a minute, Let me see how it looks on my own phone. Let me get my daughter to check it out on her iPad or whatever. So I think that's important, and I applaud you for using it yourself, because in the case of your husband, if he's like, "Wait a minute, how do you do this?" That means 4,000 other people may be asking the same question. Does that make sense?
That's right. That's right. Sometimes we may be staring at it and looking at it so often, so it looks intuitive for us. But does it really work for first-time users? Does it really work for somebody who is at a different scale of the business, different roles? So using our software ourselves gives us so many more combinations and permutation of use cases, and we try to catch them all at the point of release. But sometimes we miss it, and it helps us to quickly go back and fix them, so that we don't really have that problem, lying around in the ether for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to give you time, Bora. Anything you wanted to add before we come to almost a conclusion? I'll close this out. But I just want to tell you that as one who's used Bill.com as a customer, the setup for me was easy. Two, the internal process of, in the middle of it, whatever you want to call that, in the middle, as you're using it, easy to use. And the support, I had an issue, nothing that you all did wrong, just something typed in wrong or something. And the support was, as they would say, I don't know if it's England or the US, Johnny on the spot, whoever says that, they were really good. So kudos to you and the team who do that. But before I close this out and kind of summarize this, Bora, anything you wanted to add or anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to say to the Bill.com audience who's listening in live and or those who are listening in on demand?
Yeah, absolutely. It was great fun talking about customers with you, Ramon. So thanks for the opportunity, first of all. I want to make sure that you all know that we are striving to make our products better all the time. We still have a long way to go. We still have a lot of SMBs wrestling with paper. So we will strive to pay attention to customers' needs and make our service better and better. So please keep watching us. Please teach us how we could do our things better, our services and products better.
Absolutely. And I know that people hear your voice and can tell your heart definitely wants to hear that. But again, to remind everybody, Bill.com is the intelligent way to create and pay bills, send invoices, and get paid. And you can check all of that out at Bill.com. And we've talked quite a bit today, the importance of communication, having team meetings, trying products out ourselves. And I think as you heard the journey of Bora talked about, right, coming from not being a native English speaker, as it were, coming to a new country, she has in her heart that empathy towards somebody else, how they communicate. So I think that's really the key of it. Do you have that empathy and understanding of, let me put the customer shoes on first? And for sure, Bill.com is putting the customer first in everything that they do. My recommendation to you all as you're hearing the concluding comments we have today, and again, thanks for joining us. Feel free to go to Bill.com/small-business, Bill.com/small-business to check out more information all about Bill.com. But once again, my name is Ramon Ray, and on behalf of Bill.com and Bora, we're so glad that you joined us today. Have a beautiful, beautiful day, and you know what? A success in your business.